And welcome in everyone for another edition of Belly Up Fantasy Live Dynasty Edition on this beautiful Sunday morning. I am your host, Andrew LeDuc, followed up here next by the other host, Kevin 62 Will C, the lover of all Wilsons in the world. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Andrew. How are we doing over there?
I'm good. And as you can see, we got our new, if you didn't notice in the new intro, the background now makes perfect sense for Chase because he's just looking like your neighborhood bartender who knows everything about everybody. Chase,
That's right.
with the best background in the business. How are you this morning?
Getting by, running back and forth between parenting and footballing. So,
well, if for anyone watching, if you see Chase disappear here and there, that's life. It's gonna happen, maybe.
That's
so
right.
Bear with us. It's all good. We'll me and Kevin will carry us through.
We'll power through.
Yes. But anyways, look, we had a lot of kind of small compared to some of the other moves that have happened this offseason. Some small news happened over the past week or two here that we're gonna just kind of tackle a current affairs news kind of show this morning because there's some things that are interesting that's happening in the NFL. So we're going to get through that. But first of all, we had the big news this week that I know Chase has some pretty harsh feelings on that's happening in the football world. But the schedule was released, and a lot of people's fantasy minds absolutely exploded with crazy takes and with all these ideas of what it means for all these values. And the fact of the matter is, it is May 15th. We don't know shit yet. So, Chase, tell me, how do you feel about how the schedule released at this point matters to our fantasy drafts and specifically for dynasty fantasy drafts since we're here on the Dynasty Show?
It doesn't really. That's the thing. The schedule doesn't matter now, and the schedule doesn't even matter. I mean, it won't matter in July. Week 1 doesn't matter yet. But you see people, the one thing I saw that is a consideration, but not – in terms of roster construction necessarily, is that there are 6 teams on the bye week 14, which is either first week of playoffs in some leagues or the week before the playoffs start in most leagues. And that's a killer. Jonathan Taylor's one of the teams on bye. The Colts, the Packers are on bye that week. There's 6 teams on bye, which hurts. Mm-hmm. But that's week 14. Are you telling me, well, shoot, Jonathan Taylor's got bye week 14. I don't know if I want him on my team for getting ready for the playoffs. You're going to give up on Jonathan Taylor the RB1 from week 1 to 13 for 4.5 months. You're going to give up on him for 3.5 months just because he's got a bye week 14. You got 13 weeks to plan for it from day one, let alone if you do your draft, now or whatever. Plus, if you're in Dynasty, you're setting up your roster for this year, but for future years too. Are you really worried that some team has 3 road games in October and followed by a game against the number 1 defense from last year? It's the number 1 defense from last year. Let it ride. What you're doing is you're looking to set up the best and deepest roster possible. And that's whether you're in Dynasty, keeper, redraft, best ball. You're looking to set up the best and deepest roster possible. Okay. Worry about the week 14 buys as you approach it. Maybe set yourself up during the year, make some trades or whatever. Make sure you make up some waiver wire pickups. Keep yourself, in line, especially because we know a lot of people will need to win that week before to get into the playoffs. But don't be worrying during your draft that 6 teams are on bye in week 14 and this team over here has to play in London and then come back the next week and play a road game on the West Coast against. Let that shit ride and build the best, deepest roster you can. You're going to have to deal with injuries. You don't know who's going to be on your roster in week 8 right now anyway. So just build the deepest roster you can. Forget about the schedule. The schedule is much more of a consideration in like a daily fantasy thing, obviously week to week, because it tells you who you have available, who you don't, and you can play matchups. Matchups are a big deal. Not that they're not when you're setting your lineup in redraft or fantasy or keeper or dynasty, but it's a much lower percentage of the consideration. You're not giving up on, like I said, you're not giving up on Jonathan Taylor because you're worried he might not play the week before playoffs. If you're willing to give up 3.5 months of the RB1, possible RB1, for that, then please invite me to the league because I'll take it.
And that's the thing. So your draft, all the draft is in your fantasy leagues is setting the plate for your season. If you just draft and then you don't touch your team as far as like you make lineup changes as far as week to week, but if you're not making trades, pickups, or whatever, I guarantee you, you're probably finishing in the bottom half of your league, if not the bottom quarter of your league. Yeah. Like fantasy football is not just a fantasy draft and that's it. That best ball is.
It's ongoing maintenance.
Yeah, but it's all you gotta when you're talking about the week 14 bye where there's 6 teams, on bye week, that's something I start looking at about 5 weeks leading up to it. I'm looking to get guys buy low on some guys that I know have a good matchup that week and then into the playoffs. Like it's a constant process throughout the year. I'm not necessarily I'm not trying to fill my team up with guys with just 2 bye weeks in the draft. So if I'm drafting and I find myself with, all of a sudden I got 7 guys with, week 11 bye. Yeah. Sure. At that point in the draft, I'm going to start avoiding some week 11 bye guys just because I'm not looking to absolutely throw a week away.
Maybe, but I'm not passing up
but even then,
value at that point either, though, because you've got until if that's the case, you've got until week 11 to address that. If you pick up 4 of the top 10 running backs, who cares if they've all share a buy or 2? Trade for, get rid of them.
You can make the argument either way.
Surplus in an area of need. So do it.
Kevin, how do you feel about the schedule release? And pardon me for 1 second as my children sound like they're murdering a feral cat in the woods.
Yeah, please don't let that happen. We're cat supporters in this house, so we don't support that. But as far as I'm a football fan. I think that's safe to say about all of us here. And so I have interest when the schedule comes out, but that as a football fan, I am not that concerned about at all. I'm not that concerned, but I'm not concerned at all as far as fantasy is concerned.
Right.
And so, so I'm not one of those. I'm also not one of those guys that are standing by the remote to put the TV on to find out what the schedule is, and all of that.
Yeah. I can
now,
Google that.
I will say that the next day when I saw that the first Monday night game is Russell Wilson's return to Seattle.
Right.
His first game as a Bronco is in Seattle now. That's must-see TV right there.
Right.
But that's got nothing to do whatever with fantasy.
No, I did the same thing everybody else did. I got excited for the release, and I went down. I'm a Packer fan, so of course I went down the Packer fan and said, "That's a win. That's a win. They'll probably split with that team at least one. Yeah, that's a loss. That's probably a loss. That's a win. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it looks like 12-5. Yeah, why not? Right." I did the same thing as everybody else.
Right. I mean,
purposes, I don't
every
care
football fan in the country was doing that either when they released the schedule or Friday. So,
right? But that means nothing to how many passing yards
inbound. But as far as you're trying to figure out, okay, who's got the toughest schedule, who's got the easiest schedule. You can't go by that whatsoever.
No.
And so we're talking about defenses.
No,
last year going into the season, last year the Washington football team at that time had a great defense, right? Well, guess what? Yeah. They did not. It was absolutely god awful.
Yep, they burned me in a couple drafts.
So you cannot go by the rankings one year to the next, and especially because they're talking about how the NFC East got the easiest schedule in the history of mankind. Well, that may or may not be the case, but you can't go by that because Philadelphia's improved, Washington's improved, just for a couple of examples. And so I kind of look at the schedule not on May 15th, but as far as the bye weeks. So that's more to do with redraft because the guys you have in your dynasty team, you already got them.
Yeah.
So you got to deal with what it is. But as far as when you go into your draft, you got to be a little conscious of the bye weeks. Like Andrew said, you don't wind up with, your entire team's on bye in week 6. You know what I mean? So if there's a player in that case, if there's a player that's kind of even, and I've got 3 guys that are on bye already on week 6, I'll take the other guy just so I don't have 4 guys on bye, let's say.
Yeah, take it into consideration, but you're not going to
draft. Schedule's a good tiebreaker.
But you don't live or die with that.
No, bye weeks are a good tiebreaker. I agree, Kevin. That's exactly how I view it.
Right. And so last year, going into the season, I wrote an article about this, about approaching your season, how to, take buys into account, that you need to be aware of them, but don't draft strictly by your bye weeks. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with a team that's got like 4 tight ends or something. You know what I mean? Just as an example.
You're probably just going to be a mediocre team that's spread out across.
That's right. So if you're going to be a mediocre team, why are you even bothering?
Yeah, I answered the question on Twitter the other day. Someone posed the question, in your redraft leagues, how do you draft? Do you draft with a strategy and a plan, or do you draft value and best available? And I said, honestly, the way I draft is I set out with, depending on what's available with my first couple of picks, I set out to absolutely stack a position that I can count on to have consistent depth each week that I don't have to worry about. And then I take risks at other positions. So for instance, the last couple of years, it's just turned out that I've had extremely deep wide receiver position where I only have to start 2, but I have like 4 guys that are like wide receiver 1 or 2s. And then my running backs are riskier. And then that leaves me the options where, I can shuffle them in and out according to matchups, or then I can start trading some of these wide receivers for running backs down the road. Like, I'd rather play it that way. I'd want to stack one position, take some risks with some of these rookies at, say, running back or wherever, and hope that they hit, and then make some moves, because I'm always looking to make trades. Then you use what you got to make trades. If you have a deep position, you now have ammunition to go after probably half the teams in your league and make some legitimate trade offers to strengthen your team, instead of, if you're just mediocre at every position where you have just one like top running back or wide receiver 1 at the position, then you're going to end up with really nothing you can go out and trade with. You're going to only be able to make trades from mediocre guys unless you have some absolute clown in your league that's going to give you a steal. Like, you got to leave yourself
some room
to make some moves. Yeah, we all do. We all know the people that we target specifically with our trades first, but you got to just, the way I approach it, I like to leave myself the ammunition to make moves, because the season, like we said before, requires adjustments to be made, and you got to prepare for those adjustments ahead of time.
Well, like Mike, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right?
Exactly right.
You go into the season with a team, but it takes 1 week worth of a couple of twisted ankles or whatever, and now you've got to readjust on the fly, and that's the same whether it's dynasty, redraft.
It's the same thing that if you're going into a battle, you have a plan, then you get punched in the mouth, and then you got to react.
Yep.
And you're just flailing around like a child trying to protect your face.
And so, when I approach a draft, whatever it is, the first round of my draft, I'm taking the player that I think's got the highest possible floor.
Yes, agreed.
Right? So that player, is going to, unless they get hurt or whatever, but not a guy that has an injury history. I'm not targeting that. I'm not targeting a guy who's, had a bad season last year and he's only going to be a rebound. No, none of that. First round, you take the best top player that you think has the best floor, and then you adjust your draft after that based on that first pick.
Your first pick should be a matchup-proof guy that you don't have to ever think about week to week. He's there, and you know he's in your lineup.
Yeah, if you're in redraft, especially, and let's say you take a guy, let's say you take CMC was the first pick of the draft in our league last year that was redraft. Well, he went down. Guess what? That guy's now behind the power curve the whole rest of the season.
Then his next pick is 2 second-round, third-round value guys at that point.
Yeah.
So now his entire team is, you better hope someone turns into a consistent week-to-week matchup-proof guy, because it's most likely not. You're going to have to shuffle all year.
Yeah, at that point, you're hoping you get James Robinson. You get that year's James Robinson. You get that year's Cordero Patterson that jumps up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Or the year I drafted Alvin Kamara in like the freaking 11th round or something was the year that he popped off on the scene. That was fantastic for me.
Right. Or, you draft Todd Gurley years ago coming off an injury, and guess what? It didn't work out. So
it's all well and dandy to have
I had success with Todd Gurley. I drafted him 1 year, and he was great. Then the next year, he got hurt. So I said, okay, I'm going to take a chance on him the year after that. I shouldn't have done it. So
no, it's a solid strategy to go floor early, ceiling late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That way you at least assure yourself that you'll have some consistency. You'll have something to work with regardless of whether anybody else goes off or gets hurt or whatever. You've at least got something.
Well, yeah, because
and going that
odds
late is that's your lottery ticket strategy. There.
Yeah, especially coming into this year in rookie drafts. There's not any running backs to worry about in the first round to me. So, you got to go wide receiver, I think.
Right. To take that strategy and
for
apply
rookie
it
drafts,
to the rookie
100%.
draft, yes.
Yeah.
You have this year the safe.
Maybe Breece Hall, guys like that, maybe Walker. But beyond that, you're not taking any of those guys in the first round. And if you do, you're making a huge mistake.
I might take Breece Hall in the first, but I wouldn't take him with one of the top picks in the first.
Well, that's what I've seen, in the drafts that I've seen. Yeah. He's at the top number one spot. He's going off the board number one.
I'm letting people take him there. I'm letting that happen there. The way I explained to someone on Twitter, either this past week or the week before, I forget exactly what it was that if I'm in a dynasty league and I'm in position to compete with if I just have like a couple, like one or two more pieces, I'm going to be in position to really have a chance at competing. In the rookie drafts, I'm going out there and I'm taking the guys who can contribute immediately. And for me, I don't care if say I have the 4th overall pick, whatever. Sure, you might tell me that drafting Christian Watson or Olave is a reach at the number 4 overall pick in a rookie draft, but for me, that's the one piece I might need that's how I feel. For me, that's the one piece I might need to have a consistent, depth contributor immediately in the season that's going to help me get over that hump to get to a championship. Then I don't care if I'm passing up on bigger, quote unquote, bigger names. I'm taking the guy I need right there. But now, if I'm at the bottom of the league and rebuilding, then I'm sure maybe I'm taking some longer term pieces. But if you're on the verge of competing and you can make that pick, then I'm reaching for the guys I know I want that can contribute immediately.
Would you rather have the Packers' possible number 1 receiver, or would you rather have a guy in a possible timeshare for the New York Jets backfield? It's that
Packers number 1 receiver easily any day.
That's
what. And I was saying Olave over Christian Watson up until, and we'll get to the Jarvis Landry news of going.
We'll get to that in a minute.
But now that Jarvis Landry's going there, I think I am moving Christian Watson ahead of Olave. If I was in that position, I'm going to take Watson over Olave.
I think so too. And I just found out, just for talking points, I found out that I've got the 10th pick in my dynasty draft coming up this year, and they are projecting that the 10th pick should be Olave. Now, if he's there at number 10, I'm going to fall all over myself all day long to get him. That's even with what we're going to talk about in a minute, I would take him, and I would just dance into the night after that.
Well, it's because everyone's they're taking Jahan Dotson so early in these rookie drafts.
It's crazy.
And I just don't get it, because it's going to be at least 2 years until he's relevant, in my opinion. It just is, because they're going to change the offense with whoever they bring in for a quarterback next year after, Mariota's, that it's going to take some time. We've talked about it on the show before. We all are in agreement to that. It just makes no sense to me why he's going so early in these rookie drafts. Like, I understand the Williams is going early too. I get that, because he's if he comes back from his injury normal, he's going to be explosive. So I get that a little bit, but the Dotson thing, I just don't get.
Yeah, I get the Wilson thing, because he's going to be a number 1 receiver. So I get that. I get that completely. Not just because his name's Wilson. So, but
for you, it has to be considered, Kevin.
Yeah. Well, briefly.
Well, let's get into some of this, because let's get into some of this news here, because we do want to touch on Jerry Jeudy's arrest on Thursday, and it's turning out to be not as big of a deal as you might have thought. The news of Jerry Jeudy
over Thursday night.
Yeah,
for Jerry Jeudy.
Exactly. When that news first dropped, you go like, "Oh my God, like what's going on here?" But now the more news has come out, it turns out to not, or as far as we know right now, to not be anything that's too detrimental. But it will give us an opportunity to specifically talk about the Denver receiving core as well. So I do want to touch on that. But first of all, so Jerry Jeudy is arrested on Thursday night for, what did we say? It was domestic.
Second-degree criminal tampering with a domestic violence enhancer. Now, that made my whole head explode when I read that.
But the key here is that this was basically something that, as we were discussing pre-show, and we can touch more on here, is that in Colorado it's a law. It's a kind of a law, I guess, where the cops are able to remove a person that's involved in a domestic dispute who is withholding information, property of the other person that is causing annoyance or potential escalation of the situation. They are able to remove them and bring them to jail for the night and work it out there. Now it's come out that his wife, girlfriend, is whoever she is already gonna want to drop the charges. So there shouldn't be anything that travels with Jerry Jeudy. But real fast, do either one of you have a different feeling on this or a different kind of perspective on what's going on?
I don't know that I have a different feeling on it. I agree. It looked worse in the moment when the Schefter type tweets are coming out saying he got arrested and it's domestic violence, tampering, and that kind of thing. And it doesn't sound like a great situation. We don't know necessarily exactly what happened or what their situation is, so we want to withhold judgment on that, either for or against the guy, I think. But it does not sound like it's going to be as serious a legal matter for him as it originally did, because she's withdrawing the charges. Now, we've seen in the past that if guys get hooked up in things like this, that Roger Goodell is not afraid to necessarily not take the law into his own hands, but take the punishment into his own hands.
A little bit.
He's not going to get. This is not going to be a half-year problem for him or anything. This is not Alvin Kamara's legal situation. This is not Deshaun Watson's situation. This is possibility for some annoyance for them. He may have to be out if the charges have to go through. He may have to, have some court dates in that. I wouldn't look for Goodell to do anything major from a suspension standpoint. I wouldn't rule out a game or two, but it looks like since we had the data process it and everything else came out yesterday, it looks like it's not going to affect him all that much. I don't think this year, whether you want to make, judgment calls on whether things can happen in the future or not. I mean, I wouldn't worry about Jerry Jeudy from a football standpoint. I'm not trading him. I'm not dumping him off my roster right now, and I'm not moving him down my draft board if he's available, or I'm not skipping him on the waiver wire. If somebody drops him in a dynasty and I can pick him up, I'm taking him. So,
this doesn't feel like a situation right now, where
I've got Jerry Jeudy on one of my fantasy dynasty rosters, and he's not going to get dropped. So if you're in my league, don't worry about it. You're not going to get them. All right. So just so you know that right up front.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, Chase, that, we're in a holding pattern with this. And, it's just a couple days after he got arrested and everything. And it turns out it's just a misdemeanor. And so it's not a felony or anything like that. And it's going to get dropped, it looks like. So he might get a slap on the wrist. But that's the kind of thing that you just, if you got them, you hold them. And that's it. You just hold on to them and wait till Goodell comes out and says, okay, I just fined them or whatever it is. And then, whatever the decision is, then you make your judgment of what you're going to do.
And the Broncos are a team that can absorb that hit, even if they do have to miss him for a game or two, or even 6. I mean, they've got – I'm not a big Cortland Sutton guy, but they've still got Cortland Sutton. They've got KJ Hamler. They've got Tim Patrick. They just got Wilson. They've still got their running back situation. They've still got Albert O at tight end. They are okay, even if they have to miss him for a game or two. They've got a situation where they can absorb that kind of hit. But honestly, I don't think they're going to be missing him for anything. And there are enough.
I don't see
Wilson to throw to that. Wilson is still he should still be ranked on your draft boards where you had him before too.
Yeah, I don't see this being a situation where we see Jeudy necessarily miss any time. Because if there's one thing that Goodell is good for, is he does make a lot of his decisions based on the social outlash, coming from the fans. This doesn't seem like a situation where there's going to be much pushback from the fans on something happening here for Jeudy. This outrage about it. So I think he's probably going to, with the hopes of it just being a situation that passes by and that not having to be another stain on the NFL's image, he's probably going to just let this one go, in my opinion. I think we see Jeudy for the full season as long as he's healthy. But like I said, this is a good opportunity to talk about the Denver Broncos offense overall, because you mentioned Cortland Sutton. And look, Cortland Sutton is someone who can be spotty and inconsistent, but he's also had good stretches of time in the season that was then ended by injury, unfortunately, where he has looked like a dominant, top 5-8 receiver in the league. Like he could, and that was with, with other guys at the helm. Now he's got a legitimate quarterback in Russell Wilson that has been proven to be able to hit the deep ball. He's got the arm strength to hit Sutton, and Sutton can finally use his speed down the field in a more productive way. I am gonna probably be a bit higher on Sutton than a lot of people in my rankings this year. Well, we'll see how the rest of the offseason shakes out, but I overall like this Denver offense. We talked about Sutton, Judy, Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler now, as long as injuries don't screw up that wide receiver core, they can now, in my opinion, play the roles that they are more suited to play, that 3 and 4, number 3, number 4 wide receiver role, where I think they can be even more efficient than having to be forced to play that 1 or 2 role because of injuries. And don't sleep on Greg Dulcich at tight end. In our pre-draft show, when we were doing like our dynasty rankings at tight end, this is the guy that I thought was going to fit perfectly into Denver, and he happened to land there. I loved this pick for Denver. I think it's going to be a perfect replacement for Noah Fant between him and Albert O. I'm just going to say I'm not even going to try. We're just going to go with Albert O. But I think that 1-2 punch of tight end there, I think, is going to be a very underrated, at least coming into the season, a very underrated tight end position, to where Wilson's going to mix in some guys in this offense. And I just noticed this too, but they just sneakily signed Mike Boone as a depth piece at running back, a guy who has shown that when he doesn't have to be the top back, he can provide some depth and some goal line carries. So, what is your guys' overall kind of view of this specifically? We'll go with the receiving core of the Denver Broncos here, Kevin. We'll start with you here, as a big Russell Wilson fan who has got the jersey in order. How do you feel about his weapons that he's throwing to here?
Well, you gotta like what he has as his weapons, and I think the key to all this Denver offense is he's got an offensive line now, and so he's going to be able to get that ball out, and he's going to be able, we all know throwing a DK Metcalf, he can get the ball down the field, and so he's going to be able to do that, and we talked about Jerry Jeudy. I think he's going to be, okay. But Sutton, I think that he's going to get a big boost in his value this year, simply because they have Russell Wilson. And I think that the rest of the guys you talked about, Hamler and all the rest of them, the tight end, and they've got a good running back situation going on right there. So the Denver offense, I think, is ready. They can go toe to toe with their AFC West brethren, and so it's going to be interesting. I think that if you're looking to get a wide receiver, Denver is a good place to go.
I agree. And look, it's something that can't be forgotten about here. Is you mentioned the AFC West brethren, and the AFC West as a whole is now, as we all know, absolutely stacked, both on offense and defense. But this is something where they are all more stacked on offense than anything. And I feel like all of these division matchups are going to be just absolute, air shows and crazy scoring games where there's going to be, I'm trying to get as many shares of offensive players from this division as I can in my redraft leagues this year, because I think there's just going to be a ton of offense from all of these teams.
Yes, so I think whether you're talking about Raiders receivers, Charger receivers, go get them. Go get them. I absolutely agree with that.
All of them. I think everybody gets a bump this year, and quite frankly, I think you're going to be able to get most of them, other than maybe like a Devontae Adams. I think you're going to be able to get definitely all of the Broncos receivers. I bet you can get them at a pretty good value in your redraft leagues.
If you can get Hunter Renfrow, go get him. Go get him now.
Yeah, well, so that'll be curious to see how that shakes out with the addition of Devontae Adams there. But I know we lost you quickly there for a little bit, that Chase. But so how do you feel about what you're seeing in Denver here with the offense and the receivers?
Oh, they're going to be better than they were. Those guys were good. Those guys were good with Locke throwing to them, and Bridgewater and whoever else tossed the ball their direction last year. And just to put a bow on it, I mean, I would agree with you that Dulcich is one that you don't want to sleep on. I would not let him. You should not leave Dynasty Rookie Draft Day without him being taken by somebody. He's
100% agree.
He's one to be on a roster going forward.
Well, especially with the lack of depth in the rookie tight end position as a whole. After McBride,
the tight end position
it falls off.
Yeah, and just league wide.
Exactly. So if you can pick up Dulcich, and I guarantee you he's going to be someone that you can pick up probably at a very good value in your rookie drafts. But so you get him at the right time, reach a round or two for him. I don't care. He's going to hit that value here in the next year or two easily, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a stud for what he can offer. I think he's an all-around tight end that's going to find himself being on the field just in general for blocking, for whatever. And as long as a tight end is on the field, that opens up the way I view the tight ends, that opens up the possibility for your audibles and for your, because look, when a quarterback's making an audible, a lot of time he sees the blitz coming, he's looking for that quick pass off. He's telling his tight end, hey, chip this guy, jump out to the flat, I'm gonna toss it to you because they're coming for me, kind of idea. So those are the guys that I want that are just going to be on the field at tight end, and Dulcich is going to be one of those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So real fast here, before we continue with the current affair news, I do want to jump out to our sponsor here, Manscaped, as always, taking care of us from face to toes, everywhere in between. You fill in that how you want to fill in that. I ain't no sick mind like the rest of you guys, but but Manscaped. And to be said, Manscaped, the longest sponsor of Belly Up as a whole over the years here. So we are very thankful for Manscaped. We love their product. Check out their advertisement here, and we'll be right back after that.
Summer is coming, the sun is shining, shirts are off, and your balls are smooth. You heard that right. Your friends at Manscaped are here to make sure your beach balls are as smooth as Floridian sand. In summer, you want to kill some cold beers and barbecues, not kill the vibe with pubes peeking out of your swim trunks. That's why Manscaped has their Performance Package 4.0 to keep the party in your pants looking crisp and refreshing all summer long. Dive head first into the summer by joining the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. The Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare for that summer bod. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, and Performance Boxer briefs with a travel bag to hold all your goodies. Want to take your grooming to games even further? Take a look at Manscaped Shears 2.0, a package that has everything you need to look pristine. Nail cutters, tweezers, and grooming scissors. With the Performance Package 4.0, your balls will be ready to impress, but make sure you cover the rest with the Shears 2.0 and you'll be ready to perform from head to toe. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at manscaped.com. And one more time, that's promo code BELLYUPFANTASY for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. This is a summer to turn your package into the full package with Manscaped.
I'm not gonna lie, right off the bat, the beach ball line just had me in fucking tears. that one. You know what? Each week they hit us with something new, and we gotta love the Manscaped ads. They're fun and entertaining. And look, the product is great. You just heard it right there. We've been promoting the Lawnmower 3.0 package for a while now. A lot more 4.0 packages out now, so you got to jump on that. And definitely, look, why wouldn't you use the code to go out and get a 20% discount?
Use the code.
It's like the ad said, it's summertime. It's time for us men to be looking good out there with our shirts off and for everything else. So get on that. Back to the football, though. We can jump into something now that I, over the last 24 hours, has been taking a lot of crap for on Twitter, which is a good thing because that means people are actually paying attention to what I say. So I will take that. But I had the apparent audacity to say that the signing of Jarvis Landry in New Orleans was more of an indictment on Michael Thomas than the trade up for Olave in the NFL draft was. Look, there were some good points made to me, and I don't necessarily disagree with what people were saying, but I'm going to double down and stand by this. I think Jarvis Landry being signed to New Orleans is an indictment, whether Michael Thomas was signed to this contract or not. It just means that there's going to be a shift to Michael Thomas not being the absolute target monster that he was and that gave him the value that he had all these years in New Orleans. And the fact of the matter is, the reality is we have not seen Michael Thomas for over a year now. We don't know what his physical shape is. Look, I'm sure it's fine. He's a professional. He's an NFL receiver. Like, I'm sure it's fine. But at this point, when someone signs a new contract and they're coming back and it's guaranteed that he's coming back, this point, we're starting to see the workout videos come out. We're starting to see all that hype come out about, hey, this guy's back. Like, you better watch for us. We're coming for you. I haven't seen any of that from Michael Thomas yet. So I'm going to choose to not believe it until I see it. And I know that might be a knock to a guy who was the number one receiver for so many years in this league, or at least top 3. But I stand by that. Michael Thomas is no longer going to be like a top 5 wide receiver pick for me. He's just not that anymore. Between Jameis Winston's style of playing compared to Drew Brees, between Olave, who is now a receiver who can get down the field to play to Winston's skill set, and now having another receiver that plays the exact same way as Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, in the way the quick routes across the field, the cuts, the just solid route runner. I just don't see it from Michael Thomas as being that top receiver. But I would love to hear you guys either shoot me down like everybody else on Twitter was, or please justify my thoughts here, because I've got nothing but hate so far in the last 24 hours. So, Kevin, hit me with what you got first.
Let me see if I can calm the waters for you just a little bit. And because, I agree with you about Michael Thomas, because we haven't seen him. We don't know what he's bringing. And so I thought that the indictment came on him when they did pick Chris Olave in the draft. And so I was hoping that Michael Thomas would be Michael Thomas, and that would free up Chris Olave to have a big season. If that's not going to be the case, I'm going to say that Jarvis Landry is not the guy that's going to ride in and save the day. Okay?
No. I'm
not sold on him at all. And the reasons why, because I look at his stats. Last year, he played 12 games. He had 52 catches, 570, and 2 touchdowns. That's not bringing it. And I know that everything gets blamed on, Baker Mayfield. He gets blamed for the Kennedy assassination up there. But so let's go to the season before that, when Baker Mayfield was, in fact, the toast of the town. They were in the playoffs and everything else. So the game before, this is what he had. He had, let me see here, 72 catches, 840 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That's not bringing it either. All right. So he's a long way from 2019. And so I am not sold on him. If he can get on the field, maybe he's one of those guys that we talk about late, round, draft targets or whatever. But as far as him going in there and being their savior, I'm not buying that for a single second. If he can roll some coverage away from Olave, I'm all for that. But I'm with you about Michael Thomas. I hope that that's not the case, but you have to proceed that right now is we can't rely on him. You just can't do it.
I don't know if you can't rely on him. If you do go back to that 2020 season, like you said, when Mayfield was throwing the ball, he didn't have a great statistical season, but he still caught 71, almost 72% of the balls thrown his way. He only got targeted 101 times. That's not necessarily on Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry is not a home run hitter. He never has been. He's not an Antonio Brown. He's never been an Antonio Brown type. He's never been a Tyreek Hill type kind of thing.
He's a possession guy.
He's a possession guy. He is a guy that's going to move the sticks for you more often than he's going to get in the end zone, obviously. I think that, I liked when they traded Olave, or when they traded up and grabbed Olave. I didn't think that was necessarily an indictment on Michael Thomas, as much as it was a smart move. Like I said in my preview, in my NFC South preview, they needed to get a guy across from Thomas, to be a legitimate receiver and take some looks away from him if he is healthy. If Thomas comes back at 3/4 or 80% of what he was, he's still a good receiver. He's not a top 10 type guy anymore, if that's the case, but he's still a good receiver. Now, but they had nobody that was going to scare anybody to take any coverage off of him across from him. Trading up to get Olave did that, guaranteed that. Now you go out and you grab Landry. Now you've got a top 3 if Thomas is healthy and can play and is anything like what we saw before. It doesn't have to be 140 catch Mike. He just has to be kind of sometimes can't guard Mike still. If that's the case, they've now got a top 3 for Jameis Winston to throw to. And we know that Jameis Winston can throw the ball all over the southern half of the United States. He's done it before. So and if unless you're counting on Winston for your quarterback position, you don't care if he throws 32 interceptions this year, as long as he's tossing the ball to those other three guys. If anything, I think that the Landry pickup, and I said this on Twitter yesterday, or when they signed him, if anything, that caps Olave more than it hurts Michael Thomas. I don't think it destroys Olave's worth this year. I think it maybe caps his development and what he was going to be a little bit, because they are going to target him. Landry's going to be a target. He's going to be a receiver. He's going to get receptions and move the sticks because he's a good savvy veteran. But he's also a good guy to have in there to teach Chris Olave. I'd rather have Jarvis Landry teaching Chris Olave how to be a receiver in this league and how to conduct himself as a professional in this league than I would Michael Thomas. But they've got three guys now for Jameis Winston to toss to, and that's going to be big, especially if Kamara's legal situation doesn't turn out to be so great for him and for the Saints. They're going to have to throw the ball. Olave still has value. In a rookie draft, I am not lowering Olave at all because I want that dude for what he can do and what he will be in the future. But I am not going to expect quite maybe what we were going to see out of him because Landry is there now. If Thomas is hurt, all that goes out the window, and Olave is still what you wanted him to be.
Well, of course. Now, what we need to remember that this is not this is Jameis Winston's New Orleans Saints now. So just real fast while you were talking there, I wanted to really look at some stats on Jameis Winston here just to reassure my point. Jameis Winston since 2015 has only ever produced one out of his entire receiving core down in Tampa Bay, 1,000+ yard receiver, other than in 2019, which was his career year. 5,100 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. Chris Godwin had 1,500 something yards. Mike Evans had 1,001 yards. So barely produced. In his best year, he barely produced 2,000-yard receivers with 5+ touchdowns. The norm for him is that he can only produce once. So now the trick in New Orleans is going to be that if he is going to be that same type of quarterback who's throwing interceptions and taking chances, who's most likely to get to that 1,000 yards or at least be the target for most of his attempts? Because this isn't going to be a team like he's used to in Tampa Bay where, look, that the 2019 season in Tampa Bay, he threw the ball almost 100 times more than any other year that he played in 2019, which is a big reason why Mike Evans even hit 1,001 yard, that Chris Godwin even got to 1,500 yards. He even got to 33 touchdowns. That's not going to be the case because in New Orleans, because they have Kamara, because they have Ingram. They are much more balanced offense in New Orleans. So in my opinion, the odds are more likely that a guy like Olave, who is bigger and faster, more comparable to your Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in playing style and body types than he is to Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, who are your smaller, shiftier route runners. My opinion is that Jameis Winston is going to take more shots to Olave's side of the field than he is to I think Thomas' production is going to drop. I think Landry's production is going to drop compared to what we're used to because of Jameis Winston's playing style and the offensive style of New Orleans. I am going to double down on this take. I am not taking Michael Thomas in any drafts, redraft dynasty, unless I can get him at good value as a depth piece. He is not going to be my wide receiver 1, my wide receiver 2. He is going to be a depth piece that maybe I am proven wrong and I'm just lucky enough to have him to be able to slide him in and take advantage of that situation. It's going to be a hedge for me. But other than that, Olave is the guy on this team that I want as a receiver.
I want Olave too. And somebody is going to take Michael Thomas way before you would be comfortable.
That's why I don't plan on getting him.
Yeah, take him off your board because it's not going to happen.
Yep. Don't plan on getting him. And that's
was that the Rams coaches when New England took their guy?
You always find a way to bring up my Rams Patriots for the draft.
We're looking at him like he's going to be available to pick 100. What the hell are we doing? Yeah, that's
yes. We thought we'd get him at great value at 109. Yeah, that was Sean McVay. Yes.
Don't rip on Winston too much for not producing too many 1,000-yard receivers. Let's remember that Chris Godwin's second year, he had 800 some yards. He still had 7 touchdowns. And that year, Jameis Winston made Adam Humphries a starting fantasy wide receiver.
Fair
Adam
enough.
Humphrey.
Yes.
So
but what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that those numbers are not gonna be your, and that's fair. So I don't disagree with
that's
that. But that's what I think.
That's the year before
that's what I
the Jameis year.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe I didn't say it clear enough. Is that's what I'm trying to say that you can expect out of it. Jarvis Landry and a Michael Thomas. You're not gonna, Michael Thomas. We're used to expecting 1,300 yards, 1,000,000 receptions and touchdowns because he was the go-to guy. I think what you can expect out of both Thomas and Landry now is closer to those Adam Humphrey years where you're going to get the 700-800 yards, but maybe you'll still get the touchdowns, 5 or 6, but it's not going to be as guaranteed as they were before.
No, Michael Thomas has burned me literally 2 years in a row in my keeper league. I was able to overcome it last year and win the league, but he has burned me twice in a row, and I'm not dealing with that again. I actually just outright let him go, even knowing he might be healthy this year because I needed the roster space for dudes that I dropped him and I grabbed Elijah Moore because I felt more comfortable keeping Elijah Moore going forward than I did Michael Thomas.
That Jets offense, watch out for that Jets offense this year. That's going to be a sneaky offense.
If I could have Thomas as my number 3 guy or my number 4 guy going, then I'm
absolutely
100%. Then because then his upside is still worth it. There's still that chance that I'm dead wrong and that he returns to the Michael Thomas of old. 100%. But I'm not taking the shot as a
that chance is going to make it so that you're not going to get Michael Thomas. Somebody's going to take him way earlier than they should.
Somebody else is going to think they're being smart and grab him as their number 2 guy or number 1 guy.
That's right.
And that's fine because they're going to let somebody else fall than
he should, and that's fine with me.
Yep. No, I'm the same way on Thomas that I am on CMC right now. If I can grab CMC for value,
if CMC was available in the second round, I could see it, but he's going to be out in the first, and that's not going to be my pick.
Yep.
Okay?
There's no way I'm passing on CMC in the second round. No way. Yeah.
We know what Thomas can do if he's healthy.
Yes. Well,
but we have to see him healthy for the first
to an extent. We know what Thomas can do when he's healthy with Drew Brees as quarterback.
Well, there's that.
We don't know what Thomas can do when he's healthy with Jameis Winston. And I'm sorry, it is 2 vastly different playing styles.
No, it is.
From Drew Brees. So I think it's a fair thing to hold caution against Thomas's future production with Jameis Winston. Sure, Jameis Winston has had years, like you said, Adam Humphries, Brashad Perryman have become relevant fantasy guys. They weren't your fantasy number 1s, but they're guys that you were able to slide in from time to time matchup-wise to get you to the playoffs.
And you need guys like that to win your league. You definitely do.
Yes, and that's fair enough. And Winston had a big role in that for them.
But I don't want to jump with those guys,
there's just so much unknown.
Guys in the 10th and 11th and 12th rounds, not
exactly
at the top of my league, or I don't want to be trading major draft assets for guys like that I don't know. I think you got to tell your Twitter followers to chill out a little bit. I don't think they need. Quite as bad.
Look, everyone can give me their opinions. I'm fine. I'm not going to take offense to them. I'm going to stand by my takes.
Absolutely. Give us your opinions. We want that.
So bring it on. I don't care. Give me all.
Bring it.
Me all you want. Whatever. Bring
it on. Bring it to me too. You see my Twitter handles right there. Bring it.
I think you're validated, though, Andrew. I think you're validated.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, before we run out of time, so we had on the docket today to talk about the running back situations in Baltimore and Miami getting even more muddier by adding Sony Michel and Mike Davis. Now, look, I don't think that is actually as important as what the last topic we should talk about here is that Bryan Edwards being traded to Atlanta. And that's only because Atlanta has nobody else at receiver other than Jahan Dotson and then Kyle Pitts at tight end. And what's interesting about Bryan Edwards is he's a guy that over the past 2 years has had a ton of hype around him. And due to whatever circumstances, Henry Ruggs took over before Henry Ruggs did what Henry Ruggs did. Henry Ruggs just jumped ahead of him in that situation. And then last year, Hunter Renfrow just came out of nowhere and took the spotlight from Bryan Edwards. I still believe that Bryan Edwards can be something. I think he has the raw talent, the speed, the style. I think he's got the package to maybe not be a number 1 wide receiver, but I think he's got the package to where he can be someone that you can draft in Dynasty and have on your bench, and you can spot play him where needed and be all right with it, especially in the situation now with there being really no other options in Atlanta. If you believe at all in Marcus Mariota, and if you're going to believe in Jahan Dotson, then I don't see why you can't believe in Bryan Edwards. I just don't. I would rather take the chance at the value they're going to get Edwards compared to Dotson. I'd rather take the chance on getting Edwards later in my draft where no one's probably going to be taking him.
Dotson's in Washington. It's Drake London down in Atlanta.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I said
you're
right.
I was wondering where you were headed with that.
Drake
London.
London is who I meant. I keep confusing them for some reason.
But I agree with you. Brian Edwards has some talent, and he has flashed at times. He hasn't had, he's been behind rugs, and he's had to deal with Waller becoming a superstar and that, and Renfro becoming a guy. Wide receiver 13 kind of type guy.
We'll see how he follows.
But he still goes from he's now going from being the third or fourth option on a passing team to the third or fourth option at best on a team with not a great quarterback situation. Although Mariota will be familiar with him because they're both coming from Las Vegas.
Right.
You've got London there now, who is by far the most talented receiver on that roster at the wideout position. Kyle Pitts, who is arguably your best overall skill position player. You've got Patterson, who will be used in all kinds of ways right now. Whether he's in the backfield or lined up a receiver, he's an option. And then they did bring back Olamide Zaccheaus, who is not a great player, but he's been there and he's been through the ringer.
He's been a DFS player that if you get the right week, you're going to win some money, kind of
right. Thing. Brian Edwards goes from being the third or fourth. He goes from being the fourth option on a passing team to the at best third or fourth option on a team where we're questionable about how well they're going to pass. I'm not much, but I think he will help them. He is definitely an upgrade in their wide receiver room. But honestly, any of the three of us would have been an upgrade to their wide receiver room.
Sure. But what I like about his situation now, So yes, it's a lateral move in the current and the immediate impact for sure. Third, fourth option. And actually you could probably say maybe less than a lateral move because the quarterback situation is worse in Atlanta than it is in Vegas. What is the unknown and that I think could still work to his benefit is the future of the quarterback position, the future of the offensive line, the future of the offense in Atlanta. Yes. He's still young enough to where he can still ride that wave and show up in the next 2 years.
For that reason, this was a good move.
24 years old. 24.
In a dynasty format, this was a good move for him to get away from
exactly. That's why I'm saying specific. I'm not touching him in redraft or any other format, but specifically in dynasty, if I can get him at the whether off the trash heap on free agency or whatever, if I can get him for dirt cheap in a trade, I'm willing to take that chance on him in dynasty because I think in the next 2 years or so, he might show up because he's got the skill set to make something happen.
And they did just draft a young quarterback who could grow with him. I'm not sold on Desmond Ridder, but
I'm not either.
The two of them can grow together. If I'm in dynasty, if I've got Edwards, I'm not getting rid of him unless I get a good offer for him. And I'm not
100% agree.
I'm not going to.
He's not a guy I'm hitching my wagon to that I'm going to die on the hill on like I just did with Olave and the whole Saints situation. But it's a guy that I'm willing to take a chance on if I have him or if I can.
I would say even in redraft, if you're on the clock and it's like let's say the 14th round, and he's sitting there, he might be worth a shot.
Yeah, he needs some depth because look, you never know who Mariota is going to click with.
That's
it's a new situation for him.
I think
and every receiver
they know each other. They know each other.
Yes,
and so that's going to work to their advantage. And I wasn't real high on this when I first started looking, but he had over 80 yards 3 times last year.
Yeah.
So if you can hit on him on the weeks where he's doing that, then you'll be fine.
Don't discount the idea that they were both second teamers. Mariota and he were both second teamers on that. So he threw to him.
That's right. They were throwing each other all over the place.
They had to know.
And look, if you can get him in the 14th round or later in redraft, then it might end up being the perfect situation to where maybe Edwards is productive for the first 5-6 weeks of the season, and then you can sell him high in a trade to get someone who's going to help you long term. Because maybe at that point, that's when you typically see the turn of, depending on where Atlanta's by, because I don't have it right in front of me. But maybe that's where you see the turn of Mariota's getting more comfortable with London and with Pitts and whatnot. But maybe in those first handful of weeks, the first quarter of the season, he's going to lean on what he's comfortable with. And Brian, so it could be a situation if you can get him 14th round or later, I'll take that chance on him that he's going to have an early season productive, and then I can trade him for, something else around that early mid-season mark. You got to think 3 steps ahead. You can draft someone that you were excited about. It doesn't mean that you have to then lock yourself into him all the way to a championship. If you do that with guys on your team, you are not going to win a championship. You need to be willing to let guys go for a better situation, even if you slightly have to overpay. If it means it's going to get you to a better situation for a couple of weeks leading into the playoffs, championship, whatever, you got to make the move. You can't be scared or hesitant. It's just, you can't. That's fantasy football.
That's, live life with that philosophy and you're in good shape.
I agree. So we're coming up to the end of the show here now. And as always, actually, we're doing better on time than we typically do. So, Kevin, hit us with what you got coming up. Where can we find you? What's going on? I know the baseball season's now in full force. Where can we find you? What do you got coming out?
Well, tonight, speak about baseball. We will be live tonight at 8:00 Eastern, the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. And, of course, I'm always on the Belly Up Fantasy website side of things. You'll find articles from me over there. Twitter, we talked about bringing me comments. Kevin62, WILSEA. You can bring me comments about anything, baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Bring it to me. I'll be more than happy to talk with you. I'm always out there.
Fantastic. And Chase, how about you? Where can we find you? What do you got coming up?
Again, I'm on the fantasy, on the Belly Up Fantasy Sports and Picks website. Find me there. Find whatever my latest article is. I always talk about it on the Twitter. I'll let it be known on Twitter. So find me right there at STT Chase FFB. I talk mostly about football, a little bit about life. I'll talk about beer and scotch all day long if you want to. So let me know what you think. And I'm capable of talking about baseball too.
Fantastic.
I watch baseball. I'm not one of those guys that turns the TV off when it gets to be summer. I'm
okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. Well, hey, resource. So take it out.
Fantastic.
All right.
And as always, you can find me at Real Mr. Mallet on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, TikTok even now. Man, I'm on TikTok. I still hate saying that, but I'm on TikTok. You can find me at Mr. Mallet on TikTok. What I got going on over there is sure. What I got going on over there is I got some promotional videos coming out for the latest sponsor of my golf show, Piper Golf. Pipe it. Check them out. Go to their website. Take their quiz to find your golf ball. Fantastic product. They got more apparel coming out, so go check them out. Use the code DIVPIV, DIVPIV, get 10% off. Fantastic product. Show up to the course, use their golf ball, and impress everybody with what you can do with that. And as always, thank you to our number one sponsor here on Belly Up Media, Manscaped. As always, thank you very much. You can find us here at Tiki Live every Sunday morning or at bellyup.tv every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Also, go to Roku, download the Belly Up TV app. You can watch all of our shows across the network.
Absolutely do that. Absolutely.
Every sport that we have a show for, you can watch on demand anytime you want. So
that's
make
right.
Sure to
even croquet, Andrew. I saw that.
Even croquet.
Yes. International croquet.
Look, I felt like I faked it till I made it and crushed it on that. I'm not going to lie.
You did. Yeah,
I was happy with myself. But yes, we do have some exciting. What was that?
Did you look up croquet terms?
Oh, I've been studying. Yeah, I was ready for it. I was studying. Yeah, I was studying, so I was ready for it. So, yes, check us out. We got a lot of fun, exciting stuff coming for you this summer. Check us out. As always, a pleasure to be with you all here on Sunday morning. Enjoy the off season. It's starting to ramp up. Keep an eye out on Belly Up Media for all your content, and have a great day, everyone. We love
everyone. Have a great Sunday.